Why does China have so many border disputes? Are they even worth fighting for? Like the Aksai Chin region, is it a strategic location or not? As it is located in a highly inhabited area. So so he is essentially asking whether Aksai Chin is worth fighting for. Every inch of our territory is worth fighting for. Think about Alaska. The Russians owned Alaska. They sold it to the US for a very paltry sum of money. They thought it's just not a blade of grass grows there. That's what Nehru said about Aksai Chin when he gave it up to the Chinese. Nothing grows there. Kya hai isme? Kuch nahi hai. That's what he said. Similarly, the Russians were under a different kind of geopolitical pressure. That's why they divested themselves of Alaska. They thought it's just a big patch of wilderness and bears and fish, and that's it. From forests, nothing else grows there. So who cares? Give it to the US. Today, we find that Alaska is one of the most resource rich regions in the whole world, full of natural gas and oil and timber and other resources. It's incredibly rich. So it was a strategic blunder. Maybe it was not. Maybe they were not in a position to hold on to it or whatever. But that's what happens. So Aksai Chin may be a high altitude, barren, freezing desert, but it's our land. It's our territory. The Chinese hold that illegally. They have acquired it through force. So when the time is right, we will acquire it back. Every inch of our land that was bequested to us by our ancestors is sacred. We have to fight for it. If you start if you allow your standards to slip, it's a slippery slope. You're gonna first give up Aksai Chin. Tomorrow they will say Kashmir mein kya hai. Give it up to the Pakistanis. We will have peace then, peace and bhaichara and aman ki asha and all that nonsense. You think the issue between India and Pakistan is Kashmir? You think if you give Kashmir up, they're gonna be happy and we're gonna be brothers forever? Hell no. So if you once you start making concessions, there are gonna be greater demands for concessions. If you start negotiating with the bully, if you start giving in to your bullies, if you start negotiating with terrorists, the demands will increase. If you give in to a blackmailer, the blackmail will never end. It's not a one time payment, it's a recurring payment. That's how it goes. So we have to fight for every inch of our territory. We need to give the message to whoever it concerns that we do not negotiate with about these things. Certain things we simply don't negotiate about. Certain lines you cannot cross. So right now we are not in a position to take back Aksai Chin because we are still not powerful enough. The time will come. Work towards it. All of you, all of us. That's what we have to do. We have to pull together as a nation, as a civilization, and ensure that um, we attain our rightful place again, once again, in the global scene. Now, why does China have so many border disputes? Because China is an expansionist hegemonic nation. China seeks global superpower status, and so that's why it has so many border disputes. Shall we take a look at the border disputes that the Chinese have? So this here is China. They have a reasonably stable border with North Korea, but they keep on claiming certain parts of Korea as historically Chinese, which means that they will open up those claims in the future. Now, they have a settled border for now with Russia in the Manchuria, etc. region, but they almost went to war with Russia about this border. It was negotiated and settled about a couple of decades ago. So it is in this region along the Ussuri River that you had these clashes. Was it here? Was it on Dongan Island? I don't remember quite where it was. Most likely it was here or one of these islands on this river. So that's where this happened. And the in the 1960s, the Russians and the Chinese had these intense border clashes. Several hundred soldiers died. The Russians had decided to nuke China, and then the Americans prevented them from doing that. So this border, even though it is currently settled, even the Russians know that this border issue is just dormant. It will be reopened by the Chinese at the appropriate time. Now, when it comes to Mongolia, the Chinese have swallowed up half of Mongolia. They call it Inner Mongolia. which and this entire portion south of present day Mongolia is historically Mongolian territory. So that's what the Chinese have swallowed up. They have also swallowed up Tibet and East Turkestan. The Chinese, this is another portion of the Chinese border with the Russians. The Chinese have various border disputes with Kazakhstan, with Kyrgyzstan, with Tajikistan. As you can see, the Google Maps also shows this border as dashed and not a straight single line. So there again, you have a border dispute. The Chinese have been encroaching on Afghan territory in the Wakhan corridor over here. There again, they have a border dispute, and obviously they have this dispute with India. They have acquired Indian territory by force, and they have bought a portion of Kashmir from the Pakistanis uh, in this region over here. And of course, they also claim Arunachal Pradesh, and they may have border issues with Myanmar and Vietnam as well. They went to war with Vietnam in the late 70s, early 80s, and so on. They claim Taiwan. They claim the entire South China Sea. They have a border issue with the Philippines, the Spratly Islands dispute. They have a border dispute with Vietnam. They have a border dispute with Indonesia and Malaysia. There is nobody they don't have a border dispute with. So they are an expansionist, hegemonic country. The Chinese are bullies. And the best way to deal with a bully is not to negotiate with him, but to pay back in their own coin. So right now, India is very clear about what sort of nation the Chinese are. We seek a predictable relationship with the Chinese, and we have to achieve that by being strong. Peace through strength. So India needs to develop its strength. Then we will have peace with the Chinese.